Interviews are an important part of the medical school application process. For some, it can be a nerve-wracking experience. So in this video, I'll be sharing some of my tips so that you can crush your medical school interviews. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Luis. I'm a third-year medical student from the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health. And when I was applying for medical school, interviews were something that I had to prepare for a lot because they were a component of two of the medical schools I was applying to. In addition to my own experiences, I also asked some of my friends who got into the top medical schools in the country that also had interviews in their application processes, namely UPCM, ASMPH, UERM, and SLCM. Compiling their tips, I divided this video into 3 parts. The first being things you should do before the day of your interview, things you should do on the day of your interview, and some special tips to help you prepare for any interviews that may be conducted online due to the ongoing pandemic. The first thing I think many medical applicants should do in preparing for their interviews is to first sit down and reflect on themselves. Get to know and understand why they want to enter medical school and why they want to become a doctor. And even though you can't give an amazing original answer, that's not what the interviewer is looking for. Rather, you should give a sincere answer that actually shows your true intentions. How you make a cliché, sincere answer more reflective of who you are is by injecting examples of things you did prior to the application. This includes your advocacies, your extracurriculars, or some unique experience you had while growing up. Another tip I have is if you have friends who are already studying at the medical school you're applying to, try asking them about what their interview experiences were like, so you have a general idea of what type of questions you may get asked. This is because each medical school will vary on the common questions that they ask their applicants, so it's best to have a general idea of what to expect for specific schools. This leads to my next tip, which is to do your own personal research about the school. This includes looking at the school's website to understand the ideals that they value so that you have an idea on how to frame your answers when answering their questions. This is especially helpful if they'll ask you questions on why you want to apply to their school, and you can respond by showing how their values align with yours. For example, ASMPH tries to impart 3 values on its medical students: to be a dynamic leader, an outstanding clinician, and a social catalyst. I kept this at the back of my mind so that during my interview, I could show that my values align with theirs. Now, with all this knowledge about what to potentially expect during the interview, the next step is to practice making the answers over and over again. Because it doesn't matter if you have the most amazing answers to these questions if you just end up stumbling on your words during the actual interview. During this practice, try to come up with a list of interview questions that you think may be asked to you and rehearse them over and over again so that come actual interview, you can answer them flawlessly. On top of this, try to keep up with current events so that you can cite them as examples in your interview answers. For example, during one of my interviews, I was asked about my opinion on the current state of the Philippine healthcare system, and I responded by talking about the Dengvaxia controversy and its effect on the vaccination rate in the Philippines, which was current news at the time. On the day of the interview, the most important tip I have for you is to arrive to the venue early. This means knowing where you need to go ahead of time and having a map just in case you get lost. By arriving early to the venue, this gives you some time to clear your mind so that you're calm and composed for the interview. In addition, you can do a last-minute rehearsal of all your potential answers so that you're fully prepared for the interview at hand. If you're doing the interview online, make sure to declutter your background so that it doesn't look distracting during the interview. This leads me to my next tip, which is to dress well. By dress well, I don't mean you get the most expensive clothes you have, but something that will make you look clean and sharp. A general principle to follow is to wear business casual and avoid wearing jeans and open-toed shoes. For guys, this is often long sleeves and slacks, and for girls, a blouse and skirt. My next tip for you guys is to try to avoid giving unsincere answers to the interviewer. Try to be as honest as possible with your answers, or at least appear to be, because they can really tell if you're just trying to give them an answer that will please them. Ultimately, the characteristic I think you should be able to evoke during your interview is that you care. Because in the profession of medicine, you'll be encountering so many different people from different backgrounds, and it's important to be able to show compassion towards all of them. And at the end of the interview, just don't let it end there. Ask your interviewer some questions back. This not only shows that you're engaged, but also shows that you're interested in the school. This also gives you the opportunity to learn more about the school, and it's most likely that your interviewers are also faculty members, so you can also build rapport with them early on. And 2 quick bonus tips for people who are gonna have online interviews: try to have a backup source of internet available because you never know when your Wi-Fi can suddenly cut out. This can be your mobile data or a pocket Wi-Fi you have lying around. Second, try to have a good lighting and microphone setup so that your interviewers can see you and hear you clearly. If you found this video helpful, check out this playlist on my other tips on medical school applications and scholarships, and check out this playlist on how I study in medical school. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.